You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family. Well, hey, everybody. Glenn back with you, and it's so good to be back, especially the week before WESA, a week before the trade show. Of course, I am founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of Horses in the Morning, the daily podcast for the last 15 years. Welcome to the WESA Retail Roundup. The Retail Roundup is your go-to virtual hub for all things retail. Join panel discussions, learn from webinars, share your thoughts, ask questions, and connect with the community. We host a virtual event or share educational content every Monday via the Retail Roundup Facebook group. Today, we look at merchandising and its importance to your store, no matter the size. And of course, there's going to be a lot of merchandising next week in Dallas. Joining us today is Bob Phipps of The Retail Doctor. He's known as, with over 30 years of experience in the trenches of retail and extending to senior management positions. Bob has been a corporate officer, franchisor, and entrepreneur. He has worked with over 1,000 retail executives and entrepreneurs to grow margins, improve customer service, and train employees. He had a little bit of experience, and he's written a cool book we're going to talk about later, too. And kind of what we're talking about today relates to the book. It's called How to Merchandise Your Store, 12 Visual Merchandising Tips That Work. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be.
You started in our world.
I did.
Tell us about it.
Well, I put myself through college selling shoes. And I graduated. I was going to be a conductor. I got my degree in music. And
oh, really? Wow.
I went into student teaching, and there's 30 teenage boys trying to play Stairway to Heaven on untuned guitars. I said, there's not enough gin on the planet for me to do this. And they're like, well, you got to graduate. You better finish. So I did, and I couldn't get a job. And in the mall at Glendale Galleria, which was a really happening place in California, Southern California, a Western store was opening up, and they were looking for someone. So I walk in my little Italian suit, and I'm feeling pretty good. I go, well, I'm a great salesman, but I'm not going to wear your stuff. You're like, you're going to work here. You're going to get your stuff. Like, okay. And that's how I ended up getting in there. And I was with that company for 14 years until a very important meeting happened at the corporate office in Canyon Country. So if we get into this and you want to know that story, I will tell you about that.
I have a picture. Is this the picture of your starting days? Is this the store?
This was my first store in 1982.
I want to know what boots were on sale for $16.
Those are Levi's 501s. So
okay.
Those were $16.88. It was great because in Santa Monica, all the tourists came and overseas came to get 501s. So they would buy them at 8 and 9 at a time, and shopping lists almost.
And there's Stetson hats, apparently.
Stetson hats. Yeah, we had a hat steamer and steamed hats there. And that's a great way to encourage people to slow down, just have anyone steam a hat and you're going to look amazing, and not to just put out your hats and, right out of the box, give them some kind of a personality first. It always makes a big difference. So that's your first tip here on our conversation in only a couple minutes. So if you do nothing else, steam your damn hats. Don't let it go. Don't leave it in the back for when someone asks. It's great drama.
So Howard and Phil's, was it?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what did you do? I'm looking at the picture of the store here. And by the way, it's the classic because it's in black and white. That even makes it more classic, right? In 1981, you said, was the year. So what was it that was changing as far as merchandising back then? What happened while you were there? Because merchandising changes all the time.
Well, I think one of the things that I did that was different was when I took the store, the boots were all one style, and the shelves went from about 24 inches from the bottom, and then they stopped at about 6 feet. And what I did in merchandising is I said, we got to get them all out. I want someone to just go crazy. And the hard thing was to merchandise that way meant you had to have markers where the sizes were. There was nothing worse than quick story. So I get this call. It's Friday morning, and this guy calls. He goes, "Do you have a Fry boot 2579?" I look on the shelf. I go, "Yeah, I got it." And he goes, "You sure?" I go, "Absolutely. I trust my crew 100%. So he goes, "Good, because I'm Chris Christopherson's manager. He'll be in there in about 10 minutes to pick it up." I was like, "Awesome!" So I go up and I pick up the boots, and they're an 8.5. I was livid. So
I know he doesn't fit in an 8.5.
No, I should have closed the store and run upstairs because there was a competitor and bought them, but I didn't. So he comes in, Chris Christopherson. It's A Star Is Born. I mean, he'd just come out in this movie, and I tell him there's a big mistake. I'm sorry, it's upstairs. Although I know you have kids, we got great kids boots. I hope I see you back. And he actually came back and bought the kids boots.
Oh,
and
wow.
That was great. But another, again, your goal would have been to remove the friction from the customer, go up and get the boots and pay for it and be done with it, because that's what the service was. So your second one here on the podcast at WESA Retail Roundup.
Very good. So everybody knows what merchandising is. Has it become more important to merchandise properly over the years as things have changed and the internet's come about and all of that? Or has it always just been that important and it's the same as it was?
It's always important, but merchandising has gone through an awful lot of changes. In department stores, you saw it probably the clearest. Suddenly, they had pants departments and then shirt departments. And in menswear, that's terrible because the guy will go in and get the jeans and then he's out. And that didn't live too long. Department stores started putting movable walls in, which is a brilliant idea, except that the original designers of it expected people to understand that you move the walls so the store looks different. And most people didn't. And so then they just built the walls again, which was kind of a waste. But I think the challenge in 2025, 2026 is, look, we are a rattled consumer. We have more choice than ever. And the way I did those boots back then, I probably wouldn't do the same now because it leads to overload. And the problem with that is customers come in and they feel overwhelmed and then they shut down. So unless you have a great selling system, which is what I taught all my guys and gals who worked for me at H&P for 14 years, they can get overwhelmed and pull back and say, oh, here's an example. So back then, people were asking for black boots. Now, Dan Post made a black boot. I know it's terrible. I remember all these stock numbers, 4940, and it was a beautiful boot. But when I took over the store at South Coast Plaza, which is the one where I made the highest increase of sales over 300 stores in that mall selling cowboy clothes, I flipped it on them. So is this, you have any more black boots? No, that's only I have. Okay, well, thanks. No, come here and sit down and try it on, see if you like black. And you know what? 9 out of 10 times they didn't like a black boot. Mm. So we were able to capture those stores, sales in a new way. And so I would say, great salesmanship can really help you do a great job because you can help filter those choices down. And having a pair of lizard or ostrich boots when somebody's looking for a pair of, Tony Lama 5084 is terrible. It makes a big difference because you're always looking to get the 2 pair, not the 1. Right? That hasn't gone out of style. So when you're looking at, I should have queued up some. I didn't know we were going to do pictures today, but I wanted our store to look very packed. And if anything that you wanted Western, we had it. But
we call that the old time tack shop, where you walk in and it's to the ceiling and you can barely walk through the aisles. Those are the old
but you had to have the sense that if you're going to be in South Coast Plaza, you had to be elevated, right? So it had to be classy and there's some beautiful. I was in is it Tacona's store the other day. They had a boot store in Scottsdale. And I walked in, 5 employees, and the guy's like, "You looking for something special?" I was like, "No," and then they just left. And it's just like, dude, seriously, because it's a real minimal merchandising, right? It's got lit shelves. The whole store is pretty dark, and lit shelves, and then they have one of each one, and that kind of feels like you're looking at art. It didn't feel that approachable, right? Like I have to go and ask somebody to help me. But the key thing in retail is your goal is to bring a customer's vision down. This is for you. So you look at Blue Barn now has 450 stores. They started in Huntington Beach. They were right up the 405 freeway from me. I was competing with them when it was just the original owner, and he had 6 stores, and I think we had 12, and ultimately got to 55 before it crashed and burned. But you want them to be able to say, like, this is the work boot section. So it's going to be Carhartt. It's going to be the boots. It's going to be the belts. You're trying to make it small enough that this is for you. Or for a woman, square dancer was really big back then. And so, or in swing dancing and those. So make it, the display is for that person rather than, we just got these in, put them out on the shelf. Oh yeah. And throw a pair of jeans with it. Because a guy, especially,
you're basically saying tell a story.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You get a guy in there and he sees it. Oh, by the way, going back to training your employees, merchandising is great. But my goal, if you come into my store, is I want to see your sock. That's all I care about. I'm going to find a way to get your shoe off to try on a pair of boots. The other one, if you're coming in for apparel, I want you half naked in the fitting room. Because if I have you there, I can sell you anything. Conversion is 70% if they use a fitting room. It's 30% if it's just on the shelf. So that's where your goal is, to be thinking that, well, the merchandising you do on your store is the same thing your crew has to be able to do in the fitting room, right? So just try this on. It's a belt. Oh, I don't need any belt. I know you don't. Just try it on, dude. And guys are susceptible. You've got them half naked in the fitting room, like, okay. And when they come out, right, the jeans are a little too long.
We're not doing that unless we're intent on buying something.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah,
but
we're not doing it.
Nobody's just browsing these days, right? Yeah. I mean, if I wanted to, perfect example. Let's say I got the Wrangler bootcut jeans, and I decide, oh, these are worn out. I just need another pair. I'm probably just going to go on somebody's website and buy them. The danger is, you think that's, if I walk into your store, you think that's all I want. So when I say, oh, where are the Wranglers over here? Do you want to try them on? No, I know that fits. Okay, here you go. You have just lost probably an extra $100 or more because you didn't show them they came in another color. You didn't show them a belt. You didn't look down at their boots and say, we've got, those look like, I always like playing that game because I knew my boots pretty well. Those Justins, like, no, these are Nakona, of course, because sister companies got it. They build trust by you knowing what's going on. And if they've got a big belt buckle, it's Montana or whoever, your vendor is, then you can assume that maybe they'd be open to something else. But the game is to get it as big as you want. And that starts with your merchandising to make sure that, you're looking at the three strongest colors you can use in any display is red, white, and black. If you don't have the black, it's a Valentine's Day promotion. If it's white and black, pretty severe. Not many people want to just wear white and black.
And then it's waiter.
But when you break that up, people are willing to consider. And you don't need 18 things in there. Show one killer outfit. And you lead with what the premium items are. So many Western stores that I've gone into lately, everything is on sale 20% off, and it's this weekend only, or join our loyalty program, you get 20% off. And you got to get full price if you're going to, got the highest increase at South Coast Plaza. You got to get full price if you're going to make those numbers. And so if you're listening to that and you're saying, well, we're not really doing it, one thing to check is how many people walked in your door that day. That doesn't take anything more than putting little hash marks. You can also use traffic counter door DOR. They do it automatically, and compare that to the number of rings on your registers. And while you might think, oh, 90%, we had 90% conversion. Yeah, it's probably like 11 to 18. And that means a lot of people walked into your store and didn't buy. So I always start with, is it clean? That's part of merchandising too. And then, is there a point of view? Have you helped that customer look and say, that's for me, right?
What about, I know one of the things that you recommend is changing your displays often, monthly, or even for smaller stores?
Absolutely. Because the problem is, or the opportunity is, there are not many people like your stores out there, right? People love to say that, like, oh, our customers are loyal. Oh, we see them all the time. Yeah, well, they don't want to see the same thing each time they walk in. And more importantly, you don't want your crew to get so bored that nothing is new, right? So when I first took over that store at Santa Monica and at South Coast Plaza, I moved everything around, and sales went up 25%. Same merch. You just had to understand how to merchandise it and not just find a place. Just put that out. If you're going to get tan Wranglers in, you don't just mix them in with the blue and the black and the gray, because it's not going to be seen. If it's a brand new color, romance it a little bit. The thing that retailers often miss is you're there to answer a customer's question, which is, what's new? So if everything looks the same each time they come in, they're going to say, well, this is boring. I've been there. I've seen it. I've done that. And when you move things around, you instruct your crew to say, when someone says, wow, that's really pretty, or I really love that blouse. Oh, we had that a lot. We got that a long time ago. We just move things around. You've got to train them like, oh, yes, isn't it great? When we move things around, everything gets to shine, or something that doesn't sound like, yes, this is leftovers from, nobody didn't, orphans of Western world. And English, sorry, don't mean to ignore the dressage folks out there.
They have less choice than the Western world does.
This is true.
So, as far as merchandising is concerned, we always used to hear put the most expensive stuff in the front of the store. Is that you agree with that, or?
It depends on where you are. I couldn't do that at most malls because the hit and run aspect was a little bit. But you certainly want your best and brightest. So instead of $1,000 ostrich boots, you wouldn't have them at the front. You might have, I had the Casey's up front, so I might have had, right or left boot, and then brought the match out every other week so that the boots didn't get, funky. But I do believe, if it was my store, I believe in a red carpet right from that entrance to the door. And it's going to lead me to some cool display that's probably 32 inches off the floor to whatever my eyesight is. So 5, 6. And it's going to be lit from above like it's a 57 Chevy to get the chrome. It's going to look beautiful. It's going to have a beautiful belt buckle. And maybe have a matching men's and women's. I don't know if they do matching anymore, but at least 2 that are complementary. Because I want people to walk in and go like, I want to look like her. I don't want the sale rack in the front, or God forbid, like I saw one the other day, they just had those racks out front with, again, leftovers and 50% off on a sign that was like handwritten by a child that's kind of falling off. Your brand is everything you do. And when you don't take care to do the signs right and you don't think about it, you are pretty much putting a garage sale out in front of your store and going, this is the deals we have, instead of, how would you like to look cool when you go on that next date? I mean, that was my thing. We had a lot of bars back then, and a lot of guys from the Marines and in the services, and invariably they would come out of the dressing room, and we'd work in between the tag team with the women and the guys. We'd be like, dude, you're not going to get laid if you dress like that. That looks terrible. Those are like your dad's pants. So they go from like a 36 down to a 33, and they get him a new Wrangler shirt. And the guy's like 5 inches taller when he walks out, comes back the next week. I need a new shirt. She's going to see me at the same thing. Exactly. But that takes a matter of saying, look what an outfit can look like. And more importantly, being the one that's going to give them the fashion advice. And you only do that by building the relationship and having some humor around it, right? So if you were in the fitting room, I'd say, just try it on. No, I don't. Just try it on. And you will do it. Because we had a laugh sometime before. And more importantly, when you walk out, you're going to tell people, I went to Bob's store. That's the key. So
I know one of the things that you talk about is using unexpected props to catch people's attention. Do you have an example of that?
Oh, well, since we're live, give me 1 second.
Okay. He's running to the back, going to get an unexpected prop, I think.
And I know we're not live, but one of my favorite,
we are on video.
I do this, that's right. I do this as a keynote, as a matter of fact, in case, I don't know, Sophia or anyone wants to, explore that option. But when I do a keynote, I love talking about.
You're always a salesman. I love that about you.
The pig in the window. Pig in the window is my favorite prop to put in a window. Why? Because I don't care what display I put it in. Just put the darn pig in the window. People walk in. What's the pig in the window? Made you look. And they come in the store to ask.
Just because it's so unexpected.
So unexpected. Yeah. And pig in the window, you can always tell someone's read my book because there's a pig in the window somewhere. Doesn't necessarily be a pig, but it's totally unrelated, right? So will a horse work? No. Will a dog work? No, not the same thing. Really unexpected. And this guy, his batteries aren't working, but he actually flies when you hold him. But your goal is, so many people write to me on my Facebook Lives, how do I attract more customers? You've got to thinking, if it's a jaded customer that's out there, we've seen it all, we've done it all. You've got so much stuff crammed into your windows to try to show us everything you carry that none of it makes sense. Here's another tip you can do when you're doing your windows is go outside, and I want you to place a Post-it note right at eye level when you're looking at the window. Put it right there, and I want you to go back inside and realize that's the main part of your window. That's where the best, and in a front window, I'd put a pair of ostrich boots. That would be awesome. And I might use the box so that you knew it was whoever, Justin or Lama or whoever, and make that from the top where the Post-it note is, and then about 32 inches below. I guess you could have put one on the outside, but that's the sweet spot. Nobody's going to look below the belly button, and they're not going to look higher than your eyes. That's all you have to work with. So when you put all this other junk into the windows, you're making it confusing, and it's hard for them to get an idea. And just like in the store, you got to put enough power from the lights. And it's easy now with LEDs. You can get a heck of a lot more light out of them, and they're not taxing your air conditioning like they used to.
And they're not so big either. They're not clunky.
And that's right. That's a great point. So your windows, their whole job is to get you to just walk in the door. Think of it as like the headline.
Well, and I think you're right. I mean, we've all seen the windows where they try and cram everything in there. And the problem with that is you end up looking at nothing. Right? So more focused windows are what you're saying, because otherwise you can't focus on anything when there's 1,000 things in the window. No. And yet, someone will tell me, oh, we gave it to Jamie. He really loves doing windows. I don't care. It looks like crap. I don't care if he loves doing it. Windows are hard. Windows take some thinking. And the other thing is go out and look at competitors. Look at a Macy's who actually has a merchandising budget. Look at a Nordstrom. Look at Target used to do some really great stuff. I mean, everybody realizes it, but it doesn't have to come from Western wear. Notice people hate shopping with me because I'm always at work. I'm noticing everything. But when I do store tours, so do you notice that? Did you notice why that is next to that? Do you see how your eye travels and where we end up? And a lot of people have never had anyone explain that to them. So unless you're planning to have me do a store tour with you all, do it yourself. But go and pick the big ones. Don't go in an Apple store. That's not merchandising pretty much. Go in people. Von Maur. They're the exception because they don't have to.
Exactly.
Right.
So, don't go to the dollar store. That's not going to give you the idea. So,
see, we're talking a lot of times about all the senses too, and one of them I think that's forgotten about in the store is smell. Now, if you have really good leather in your store, that smell is there, right? But if you're an English store and the leather is not prominent, smell is so important, and store owners overlook that too. Disney spends a lot of money on smell. Those smells you get going down the street aren't necessarily coming from the kitchen. They're piping that in, right? So, do you agree?
Well, that's where it all started, was Disneyland 1955, when Walt hired this guy to make that for the cookies. And that company became Scent Air. They're still around. I've used them in clients. I would do that in a heartbeat in an English store if it didn't smell leathery enough. Yeah. Because you go into Tony Bahama boutiques now, and it smells like coconut and I can't think of the other, coconut and Villa. They've got a special scent, but you instantly feel you're at the beach in Hawaii. Scent is a huge marketer. You take out your boots, I would absolutely say, smell the quality of this leather. We don't use that when we sell. And then we say, oh, well, they didn't want it. Well, to get a connection, I don't think there's anything more strong. I guess you could taste it would be stronger. But that'd be a little weird, right? Here's your boot.
Well, then you'd have a whole bunch of boots with bites out of them. And
not going to work.
All right, good. Signage is another one that's a pet peeve of mine, especially the bigger. Now, when I've been to some of the stores in Texas, right? Some of the stores down there are huge. They're the size of Walmarts. And And when you go in, one thing, it's hard to find stuff at Home Depot, but the one thing they do is they have enough big signage that kind of gives you an idea where that item's going to be. And I do like going in stores, even smaller tack shops, that there's some signage that points me in a direction. I don't know if you think it's important, or is it better not to have signage and have them wandering around? I don't know.
I went into a Scotch and soda. Is that what it's called? Scotch and soda. It's a brand. Soda and Scotch. I never quite remember it. Anyway, I went to the mall and I started looking on this one rack, and I just stopped. And there's a young girl over there sizing things. I go, which one is the men's and which is the women's? She goes, oh, the men's over there. Like, great. Thanks for that. I shouldn't have to guess at that. Like, you could have given me some clues.
That one especially.
That could have told me, like, oh, that's it. No, I do believe in big stores like a grocery store, having those headers is very helpful. Wayfair signage is what that's called. But also, we've kind of defaulted to 20% off this weekend, 30% off this, 20 and 30. When everything is on sale, then you've lost the full price customer, and that's how you ride a business down. I mean, Howard and Phil's went out of business. I left it in 94. They were gone by 96, and they were having trouble, and they did an awful lot of sales, and just wasn't able to really keep going. And then Garth Brooks, of course, decided to wear tennis shoes and the ball cap, and that kind of changed things a little bit for Western.
Then Yellowstone came out, and then we were back to boots and jeans and buckles, right? So yeah. Yellowstone changed it all again for our industry.
Dallas changed it from the 80s. That was the thing. Everybody wanted to be JR.
That's true. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, we've gone in cycles that way, haven't we? And it's all driven by media, right? Yeah. So your article concludes that creativity is the most important element. In today's world, with everything we have out there, we used to talk in marketing that somebody had to see your marketing message 3 times. That's in the old days before internet and all of that. That's not true anymore. They got to see your marketing message 12 times for it to sink in anymore, because they're so flooded with a million marketing messages every day. So how can you be creative in today's world?
Well, I think you can always be creative. You just got to think like your customer. That's the key. If I'm in Dubuque, Iowa, and there was some kind of horse event of some kind, or some kind of a parade that's going on in that town, everything should fly back to that it's a great, there's a great outfit to wear at the opening party, or it's a great, this is a great option for those of you who want to polish their boots. You might do a whole thing on that. But the key is you don't get forgotten. So that's why everybody should have their own lists. CRM. I know people who brag to me like, oh, we've got all these followers on Instagram. It's like, who cares? They're not yours.
Yeah, that's true.
That's Zuck's. He could go through and turn that off on you tomorrow. So your goal is to bring them through a landing page into your CRM so you can talk to them in a great way. And then I'd be the first to admit it. I'm speaking a lot on retail and AI. I would have all my ideas and I would put them into chat, and I would I would go through and take pictures, have it analyze them. There's a lot of different things you can do, but you've also got to know what to ask. And so if you're listening to this like, oh, that's stupid, I'd never do it. Well, they said that about the internet. They said that about email. They've said that about a lot of things. I don't think this is going to go away. And even though I believe it's the start of Skynet, I truly do, from Terminator, we are all able to be in it right now. And it is hundreds of vendors. It is tens of thousands of dollars of service you could never have had 2 years ago without paying through the nose that you can now get. And that's what's going to be a game changer. So you were trying to figure out, what should I, you have so back in Dubuque, Iowa, right? So you have your events calendar, you go to your Chamber of Commerce, you do something, put that whole thing in chat and say, okay, outline 12 monthly windows I could do. Here's what I want to feature: Tony Lama, 5084, ostrich boots, the swing dance, whatever, and see what it suggests. because it can help you. If you have the idea, it can help you kind of solidify that, and then you can go out and play with it.
And that's how we use it on our shows, is we use it more as a research tool or an idea generator. It doesn't mean we don't look deeper to get the true story of whatever we're talking about, but it gets us started. And I would take hours to come up with those ideas that it gave me in 2 minutes. Right. And you're right. It is all about asking the right questions. I need to get somebody on just to talk AI as relation to retail.
What the hell are we doing here, dude? I can do that. Jeez.
We need to do that for a whole session.
I know. Maybe with Sophia, I'll do it at a session sometime. Anyway, I'm going to get a third one.
Sophia, that's 2. We can.
I'm going to get a third one in by the end of the show, dude. Just saying.
So, Bob, you have a book, How to Merchandise Your Store, 12 Visual Merchandising Tips That Work. Take everything we've talked about here today and multiply it times 10. And that's why you need to read the book. It's still out there, right? It's still available.
Well, actually, what you're referring to is a chapter of my book. My book is The Retail Doctor's Guide to Growing Your Business. So that was my third book. But nowadays, all of my
and that one's available on Amazon?
Yeah, it is. All my training is online. SalesRx is my online retail sales training program. So it's basically what I have developed over 35 years that I can take anybody's product and I can make you a superstar and increase conversions. 83% of our users reported double-digit increase in 6 months because I'm more like a college of retail. If you really want to do it, you really want to increase your conversions, if you're really trying to figure out, like, these people are all coming in, why aren't they all buying? It usually comes down to your people, and worse, it comes down to your managers or the owners who haven't invested any time in training them. We see they've worked for some other tax shop and we're like, oh, bring them in. They know everything. I don't care if they know everything. What I care about is, can you talk to me? Can you make me feel I matter? Because people who feel they matter buy, and people who don't walk out. It's that simple.
And the website where they can find either your consulting or books and your podcast, you promote that quick.
Before we get to that, yes, my website is retaildoc.com, retaildoc.com. And my podcast is Tell Me Something Good About Retail. So we have, 500 or 600 episodes, been going for a long time.
Congratulations. That's a lot for a podcaster.
And every model is different. Every episode is different. And we've had people on there from Martin Lindstrom talking about the future, Paco Underhill, as well as retailers who are just telling their stories, like the woman in Julie, who's in London. She decides to open a boutique with her and her 3 daughters. And it's 2019, and no one's coming in the door. No one's coming in the door. So she's trying, and finally she's so upset with her daughters. She's like, why do we get in this business? Like, no one's here. And she just decides to pick out her phone, and she does a live video. And she has built that now into 6-store chain in the UK because she was willing to try something. And I think that's the same true for all of your listeners here today, is whether it's AI or merchandising, get smarter about it, learn what you can do, and don't just fly by the seat of your pants, because there's plenty of businesses that are going to go out left and right and crime it was all on Amazon. Oh, they're the ones that put me out of business. 20% of sales is through online. 80% is still in a store. So I don't care who you're going up against. I can tell you, I've gone up against an awful lot of them myself. You're about as successful as you make your mind up to be, whether that's merchandising or selling or talking to your customers. So it isn't brain surgery, but it is a matter of being really focused on what you want and how you're going to do it, and finding people to help you.
And what's the name of the podcast again, where they can find any podcast player?
Tell Me Something Good About Retail.
Tell Me Something Good About Retail. There you go. And it's retaildoc.com. Thanks, Retail Doc. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, we'll be back at the end of the month. We're going to have a couple of weeks that we will not be doing these Monday sessions, partly because I'll be down at WESA as well. So Jennifer, my wife, and I, my wife hosts the Wisdom by WESA podcast, and we'll both be there Wednesday and Thursday of next week. You'll see us wandering around. We do special episodes of these shows for new products that are out there that are coming to the market. Listeners love to hear about new products. So, and they like to hear about it first. So we'll be wandering around with our microphones. If you see us there, call us aside. If you have a new product, we'll do an interview right there in your booth. We've been doing this as our 36th trade show, I think. It's been a long time doing this, so we're looking forward to seeing everybody there. Look for us on Facebook, Retail Roundup, and of course, WESATradeshow.com and the WESA Trade Show YouTube channels where you can find all of these videos that we're doing here. Bob, RetailDoc.com. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.